Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive.
Bada beer.
Today we're jumping into a really interesting report. It's about recent statements linked to Donald Trump concerning, potential future U.S.-China relations.
Yeah, and our guide for this deep dive is a specific Raiders article. It focuses on comments Trump apparently made in a Fox News digital interview.
And that interview, according to this Reuters piece, happened after he spoke with Chinese President Xi Jinping.
Exactly. So the timing is presented as quite significant in the article.
Right, so our focus is pretty tight. What does this particular article highlight? What did it choose to report from that interview, especially coming after that call?
Our mission really is just to pull out the key insights that this one source offers. What might these specific reported statements mean based only on this article?
Okay. And the article flags two main things Trump reportedly talked about.
Yeah, two distinct points. First, that China would supply rare earths to the U.S., and second, that China would allow American students back into the country.
It's notable that those two are mentioned together, isn't it? Let's take
But,
the rare earths bit first. The article says Trump stated China would supply them
right. And what's significant there, even though the source doesn't give tons of background, is just the mention of rare earths itself.
because they're critical minerals.
Precisely.
Okay.
Essential for, well, all sorts of high-tech stuff. Think electronics, defense systems.
Mhm.
Getting a reliable supply is a huge deal, strategically.
Okay.
So the fact that the article highlights this, reportedly after a call with Xi, it kind of signals its importance, doesn't it, in that whole geopolitical context?
Absolutely. Feels like a major economic, maybe even security point. And then right alongside of the article reports Trump saying China would let U.S. students return.
Mm-hmm. And that's interesting, too, but maybe in a different way.
How so?
Well, the very fact that this is presented as something noteworthy, something discussed at this level, it sort of suggests there might have been, issues before. Restrictions, maybe.
Ah, okay. On American students studying over there.
Yeah. And educational exchange, that's often seen as like soft power, right? Building connections.
Sure, cultural ties.
So if they're talking about easing things up, as the article seems to imply here, that touches on a completely different side of the relationship. More people to people.
And Reuters, the source we're using, explicitly connects both points, the minerals and the students, to that reported conversation Trump had with Xi Jinping.
Yes, they're framed almost as,
Yeah.
well, maybe outcomes or key topics from that discussion,
Yeah.
based on what Trump reportedly said afterwards in the interview.
So if we just stick strictly to what this source presents, highlighting these two kind of unrelated points after that specific call, what could that suggest?
It might suggest, potential areas of focus or
Mhm.
maybe points for negotiation if things were to change in the future. It's got this hard strategic thing with rare earths
Right.
and then this softer educational cultural thing with the students. The source putting them side by side is, well, it makes you think.
Maybe hinting at the range of topics discussed, or maybe these were just the specific points the source found most reportable from that interview.
Could be either. It definitely gives you a snapshot based purely on what this Reuters article chose to pull out from the reported interview. It paints a picture of what might be considered important or achievable after that kind of high-level chat.
And just to be clear, we're just looking at what the source says Trump reported, not judging it, just observing the information presented.
Exactly. The insight here comes from looking closely at the details the article itself decided were worth reporting from that specific context.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, we looked at the Reuters report. It highlighted Donald Trump's reported comments, apparently after his call with Xi Jinping, focusing on two things: China supplying rare earths and allowing U.S. students back.
Both points linked by the source to that preceding conversation.
So it leaves you with a question, doesn't it, based only on the info from this source? What might the source's focus on these two specific issues, critical minerals on one hand, educational access on the other, suggest about potential priorities? Or maybe the kinds of bargaining chips used in these complex international talks?
It makes you think about how very different types of issues, hard trade versus softer cultural exchange, might get intertwined in diplomacy, at least as suggested by the way this article presents the information.
Yeah, how the economic and the human elements can sit side by side in these big discussions. Something to ponder based on this particular deep dive.